Good afternoon, everyone. It's me, Bob. That was me briefly doing Jean-Luc Picard because we're reviewing a Star Trek book today. To my knowledge, the only Star Trek book that's technically canon. And if you like my impression, you'd love this book because you get Shatner doing an impersonation of Patrick Stewart, and that is the highlight of this book. Shatner does a wonderful job, but keep in mind, it's a one-man band. If you're expecting them to make, like, a whole troop of people, no. No, that's not this book. Yeah. If you like Shatner's music career, you'll definitely love this. Okay, story is canon because we know that Captain Kirk's body, we know now that Captain Kirk's body ends up on the station for Section 31, their version of Area 51, right? The high profile, big wig, whatever. Anyway, they somehow got Captain Kirk's body and incorporates it into Project Phoenix. This was in Picard. I don't have any way to show you the Easter egg, but trust me, it's there. And how it got there, well, this book kind of explains that. But at the same time, this book also possibly takes place in a alternate timeline because it has the Romulans and the Borg teaming up, doing things that, yeah, not they never do, but they're more desperate. If they're willing to bring back Captain Kirk and team up with one another, that is definitely more desperate. Now, on to the reason why I'd like to see this one day in, like, some version of Star Trek, which they just did Spock burying Kirk in a short film recently. It's called Star Trek The Resurrection, I believe. I don't rightly know. But they took Leonard Nimoy's face from the cage and they literally digitally put him in new scenes, basically. Brand new stuff. It doesn't matter that Nimoy's dead. He actually appeared in 3 more things after being dead, if you count it as 3 things. But if you count it like I'm counting it as one thing, these short films Star Trek The Resurrection makes canon the very beginning of this book. And in this book sequel, which I'm working on right now, I will have it finished soon. You get to find out that Spock's father might have been murdered. So that might be canon. That the version of Vulcan Alzheimer's that he had might have been like poisoned or somehow sent into his DNA, or because they're such an advanced race. And they brought in the symmetrists, which they're always like, why would there be this to me? But at the same time, the way they present them in the sequel to this book is kind of cool. This is something I would like to see in Star Trek canon. But at the same time, again, we might be several years off from seeing the whole book brought to life. My favorite Star Trek novel that I've read, though, is still Star Trek X-Men. Star Trek X-Men had a fight with Wolverine and Worf. That to me, that is cool. You know? This was more for the Star Trek fan. The Star Trek X-Men was just for nerds in general. It was like, we love you, we'll never get to see this, but here it is anyway. But now knowing that this might be canon, the return, I don't know. This whole video is gonna be a big, I don't know. What do I know? Let's see. I know that if we did get to see it, I'd like to see the lady getting shot out in airlock, or the Borg homeworld. The Borg homeworld, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, because my Star Trek knowledge is about a C. I know a couple A+ people, but compared to them, my Star Trek knowledge is a C. But needless to say, I don't believe we've gotten to see the Borg homeworld in any other media. Hang on a minute. Okay. So, in any other media outside this book, I think it would be very cool to see. Given that the Borg homeworld must look like a kind of like a busy beehive, in my opinion. At the same time, I was pitched. Call her again, please, Mom. Open the treat jar. When in doubt, treat jar. Okay, so I kind of picture the Borg homeworld as like a busy beehive with like all these different Borg sectors going about it at the same time. I picture it like a giant cube. They describe it, and it was like, oh man, that would be cool to see. Sorry about that. Again, I'm Bob. This is my world. Sometimes you see the disability, other times you don't. But that was one of those times, I guess. Let's see, what else did I like about this book? Lady getting shot at an airlock, Borg homeworld, Star Trek making it soft canon, and Shatner's impersonation of Patrick Stewart. Oh, that was awesome. But there's so many things, and also I like the the next the Nexus and that movie. I like Star Trek Generations. That one's my favorite of the movies, so it may have helped that I have a bit of a soft spot for the movie it's sequelizing. The I too have often wondered, why did Captain Kirk go out like that? And the answer now is basically he didn't. Um, Shame he couldn't get anyone else to voice their characters. I would really like to have seen a Jonathan Frakes, or even, I don't know, Michael Dorn, or Gates McFadden, or Marina Sirtis, anyone. LeVar Burton, And if he did LeVar Burton, you would have to have him say the phrase, "Don't take my word for it," at least once. At least once. Wouldn't you say, Mom? She agreed. Don't take my word for it. Um, yeah, like I mentioned, I'm currently in the middle of reading the sequel for this channel. I didn't. I don't want to hurry it along because this was a relatively short book, and if the sequel proves to be about the same length, we're dealing with a relatively short book here. A good performance, but a relatively short book. And I I don't want to get 3 books in and be like, now I have to do a massive video. Because I know there's like 9 books in the Shatnerverse, which is what this is called, because books are written by William Shatner. For anyone that's interested. Yeah. There are like 9 books, and I'm on book 2, and I've noticed that when I try to do massive videos, I always leave some stuff out. I always do. Always. I left out a crap ton of stuff. I mean, a bunch of stuff. Gotta keep it family friendly. A bunch of stuff in the H.P. Lovecraft review. I did a little bit of justice to the 1 Minute War. Just when I do massive videos, I always leave out stuff like how Captain Kirk in this had a relationship, pardon me, with the Romulan lady, and how they clearly feared him, but they respected him at the same time. They respected him enough to bring him back, and I'd be sad if I didn't point that out. You know, it was a really good book, and because it's so short, I again really don't want to do a massive review. So, I give it a 4. A 5 would be if, like I said, he brought in the rest of the Star Trek cast. Instead of just, oh, by the way, this is my impression of. I mean, nobody wants to see me do an impression of Patrick Stewart. They just, they would rather have Patrick Stewart. You know? Mom's like, no, nobody wants to see that. And if Shatner's gotta have some. If he could put it all together, I'm sorry. If he could put it all together in my head, he could definitely have a a it could have been a better book. You know, I could still see the general concept he was going for, but he, at the same time, has to have decent Star Trek money. I mean, he just went up in real life space. Poor people can't do that. Poor people can't go to space. We only dream of being in space. I wonder if Shatner and his crewmates weren't on the best of terms when he performed this book for Audible. Again, just makes me wonder. Hopefully, the second book can redeem that in my mind. I kind of doubt it will. Like I said, it was still a 4. Still a decent book. Do I think you'll enjoy it more if you watch Generations? Yes. Yes, I think that if you actually watch the movie before you read the book, you will enjoy it better. So, sorry about the dogs. Again, I'm Bob. This is my world. Sometimes it's a little chaotic, but that's what you get when you watch my videos. Um, I'm sorry if this didn't make any sense to people that aren't into Star Trek. That was one of the downsides of this book. That it wasn't like Star Trek X-Men, where Star Trek X-Men but has the X-Men in it, and this was really more for those fans. And I apologize for that. I did my best trying to explain it to you. Hopefully you go out and read the book. I've been Bob. This has been The Other World According to Bob. Bob out. See you next time in Star Trek The Avenger.